Is Turkey going to become the next dominant gas hub backed by Russia? Well, Turkey, they certainly believe that they can become a powerful player in the European energy market. And obviously, this could potentially help Turkey's failing economy. Now, decades of Russian dominance in the energy market, as well as the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia, has forced Europe to look for other gas suppliers. And especially when you take EU Commission's latest anti-Russia energy plan into account that says that Russian gas must be phased out by 2027. Long live the European Union is all I can say. But regardless of how the leaders of the EU feel, one thing is clear. Europeans, they need gas. So European countries are seeking to buy the blue fuel on the open market in special gas hubs. So taking advantage of the moment is Turkey, as Erdogan wants to build its own hub. The Turkish president, he plans to unite all suppliers from their region, including Russia, in order to gain influence in the open market. I want to welcome you to Investors Reality. Now, in today's video, it is the next in a series looking at the financial implications on the current global crisis from a geopolitical view. And today I want to talk about the supply of gas. You see, President Putin, he's actually suggested that Turkey should establish itself as a hub for European gas supplies. Now, with the idea being that Russia will supply Turkey with all of the wholesale gas and that Turkey will then sell all of that gas on to other countries. And it does seem that Turkey is keen to start this project. So we will have a look at the practicalities of whether or not Turkey could establish itself as a gas hub. We will look at the pipelines that feed into Turkey, in the pipelines that come out. We will have a look at the European network of gas pipelines and see whether or not it would be practical for those pipelines to connect into the pipelines from Turkey. We will also have a look at which other countries supply Turkey directly via pipeline and how much gas reserves they have and whether or not it would be possible for those countries to supply gas to Europe via Turkey. And in the end, we will look at how Turkey believes to circumvent the EU sanctions regarding buying Russian gas. Now, if this sounds good to you, then please hit the like and subscribe to the channel. My name is Nico Arachi, and this is my reality. In September, the key Russian gas pipelines Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 exploded as a result of sabotage. The Nord Stream 1 and 2, they were supposed to be an alternative for the transit of natural gas through the territory of Ukraine. Furthermore, according to Polish media, at the end of April, Russia stopped pumping gas through Poland. And later, the Bloomberg report reported that Russia is gradually reducing transit through Ukraine. So as a result, in 2022, Gazprom will deliver 33% of 50 billion cubic meters less gas to the EU than in 2021. The countries of the bloc annually consume about 400 billion cubic meters. So this year, they will not even receive 12.5% of the required volume. Now, even though prior to the sabotage of the Nord Streams, the EU countries, they had time to prepare for this winter and file the storage facilities to almost 100%. But the question is, where to get the gas for next winter? Because next winter is coming as well. So it was actually President Putin who proposed to Turkey that they should establish themselves to supply gas directly into Europe. So this does suggest that Russia will supply all of that gas on a wholesale basis. Turkey can then sell it on and be able to add some profit and make some money from this arrangement. So before we go on to talk about the political ramifications and whether or not Europe will be interested in buying that gas, let's have a look at the practicalities of whether or not this would even be possible. And not surprisingly, given the relatively close proximity of Russia and Turkey, and also the fact that the two nations have strong trading relationships, Russia is the biggest single supplier of natural gas to Turkey, and in 2021 provided more than 50% of all of Turkish gas. Russia supplies gas directly into Turkey via two major pipelines, the Blue Stream and the Turk Stream. Let's look at a map just to show you where Turkey is in relation to the rest of Europe, just in case you don't know. So here you can see that Turkey is located in the far southeast of the region. And we'll come back and talk about the pipelines that currently exist in Europe and the potential for Turkey to be able to tap into that network a bit later in the video. The reason I want to show you this map is just so that you have a good idea as to where Turkey is located in respect of all the countries who need gas, such as Italy and Germany. But now let's talk about the two existing supply pipelines from Russia to Turkey. This map shows in detail the location of both of these pipelines. The Blue Stream pipeline, which interestingly on this map is shown in yellow under the area of the Black Sea, was a joint venture project between Turkey and Russia that commenced in 1997. The pipeline itself is a 754 miles long from start to finish, with a section of 232 miles overland in Russia. And this you can see at the top of the graphic. The pipeline then runs for 246 miles under the Black Sea, and there's a further 276 miles onshore within Turkey. Now, the construction of the pipeline was started in 2001, and the first gas flow, or the first time gas flew, commenced in February 2003. Now, the Blue Stream pipeline has a maximum capacity of 16 billion cubic meters of gas per year. And just to put that into perspective, the Nord Stream pipeline, which supplied gas from Russia to Germany, had a total capacity of 59 billion cubic meters. So the Nord Stream capacity was almost 4 times greater than this pipeline. The original contract that was put in place between Gazprom and Turkey was for a 25-year period. However, the project was so successful that the two countries they started to negotiate about opening up a second pipeline called Blue Stream 2, which was to run in parallel alongside the first pipelines. So this is exactly the same concept as to what Russia did with Germany on Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. However, Blue Stream 2 was later abandoned, and Russia proposed to build a second pipeline called Turk Stream, which was designed to supply the far west of Turkey and also give the opportunity for Russia to be able to sell gas directly into Europe. However, detailed negotiations between Russia and Turkey commenced in 2015, but they were later suspended due to military tensions when a Russian jet was shot down over Turkish airspace. Negotiations recommenced in 2017, and the two Turk Stream pipelines were opened in January 2020. So as you can see from this graphic, Russia actually constructed 2 parallel pipelines simultaneously, one designed to supply Turkey and the other designed to supply Eastern Europe. The total cost for the construction of the 2 pipelines was 11 billion, and they have a combined capacity of 31 billion cubic meters per year. So essentially, these pipelines have the same capacity as the Blue Stream pipeline. However, because there's 2 of them, there's obviously double the amount of gas, and that represents around 50% of the total capacity of Nord Stream 2. The European section of the Turk Stream pipeline supplies Bulgaria, Serbia, Hungary, Slovakia, and Austria. I thought it would be worth looking at the existing infrastructure in order to understand the feasibility of Turkey being able to sell gas directly onto Europe. Now, this is the map that we looked at earlier, and in order to give you some perspective as where Turkey is located. And this really just shows the main pipelines that are coming directly out of Russia. However, this map gives you a much better understanding of the current network of pipelines that exist within Europe. So President Putin's idea of setting up Turkey as a hub is based upon Turkey then transmitting the gas onto other countries who can then connect the pipelines onto other pipelines. And through this interconnected network, you would then potentially be able to transmit gas directly from Russia to Turkey all the way through to countries such as Portugal, Spain, and France. Now, in order to assess the feasibility of whether or not Turkey could establish itself as a transport hub for gas for the rest of Europe, we need to look at the existing gas pipelines that currently feed Turkey. This map shows Turkey's major gas pipelines. So as you can see at the top, we've already discussed Turk Stream and Blue Streams, which are providing gas directly from Russia. But in addition to those pipelines, Turkey also receives gas directly from Iran and Azerbaijan. So Turkey certainly has access to a lot of gas from a lot of different countries. But the problem that it has is that there are capacity constraints on those pipelines. And Turkey has a massive demand for gas itself. Over the last few years, the demand for gas to be used in the country has increased exponentially. The Iranian gas pipeline provides Turkey with 10 billion cubic meters, And the original pipeline from Azerbaijan carries 6.6 billion, whilst the new Azerbaijan pipeline cold tap has a current capacity of 16 billion cubic meters. In addition to these volumes and the gas that Russia supplies via the Turk Stream and the Blue Stream pipelines. On top of that again, Turkey also imports 14 billion cubic meters via the Russian Trans-Balkan gas pipeline. So in theory, Turkey could very much establish themselves as a hub because the infrastructure is in place. The problem that they face right now is that there's no additional capacity to be able to sell the gas on because it is using all of the gas that it's importing and even more each year. As I already mentioned, this idea of Turkey becoming a gas hub for Europe was actually proposed by President Putin. And the reason that he's proposed this is because Russia obviously have lost an enormous amount of revenue from the gas sales that they were making directly into Europe, and they are obviously looking to recover that. So this graphic shows Russia's exports of natural gas in 2021, and as you can see from the blue sections of this graph, the vast majority of all of its sales were made directly into Europe. Now this graphic is actually showing the volume of gas that was provided. But in terms of revenue, Russia earned around 43 billion from gas sales in 2021. So the 19.9% of sales that went to Germany equated to around 8.25 billion. The next largest customer was actually classified as being a part of Europe was, however, Turkey. So obviously Russia is not losing those sales. Turkey has taken an entirely neutral stance all through the Ukraine war. So they will remain a buyer of Russian gas. However, Russia is facing the loss of all of the rest of the blue sections, as Italy, who represented around 10%. France, Poland, and the rest of Europe are also all looking to switch off those purchases. So the loss of all of these countries will equate to around 27 billion of lost revenue for Russia. So this really puts into perspective why President Putin is so keen to develop the relationship and try to get Turkey to act as a middleman, to be able to sell Russian gas onto the rest of Europe. Because as I've said before, Russia hasn't really been planning for this eventuality. It hasn't been building large LNG facilities all across its network. So Russia doesn't have the ability to convert the lost sales into replacement sales because the only way to sell that gas into Asia would be to liquefy it and put it onto ships. But it just doesn't have the capacity to do so, and that's because it lost all of its trading partners. And also ExxonMobil, Shell and BP, they have all left the country and said that they would no longer want to invest into Russia. So it's going to be difficult for Russia to be able to build these facilities quickly because, as you know, they don't have access to the capital or the expertise. So this is coming at a real bad time for Russia. And when I say expertise, they don't have the expertise that they would need in order to build LNG facilities. So their only real option that Putin has is to try to get people to buy the gas in a gaseous form through the pipelines. So this is why they came up with this proposal that Turkey could become the middleman, because it enables Russia to still earn some revenues from all of that gas. Otherwise, it's just going to be left in the ground, or they will need to start torching it and stop burning the gas. So just in case you watched my last video regarding Turkey, you'll know that Turkey is facing some major financial problems, predominantly because it's a net importer of energy products. Turkey imports large amounts of gas and also large volumes of oil. And as a result of that, Turkey has been running a negative balance of trade imports more than exports. And it's run out of currency on top of that. And over the course of the last 18 months or so, we've seen the Turkish lira devalue significantly. So there has been a material devaluation, and that's led to a high degree of dollarization in Turkey. So the majority of the people are more comfortable using euros or dollars rather than the Turkish lira. So there is a real crisis going on right now, and it's very difficult to solve because energy prices are staying high as a result of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Turkey, however, is continuing to need, or they're in the need to find more and more currency and the need to do more deals. So Turkey is really looking for a way out of this crisis, and this idea of setting itself up as a gas hub is actually very clever. So in theory, this could work to both Europe's, Russia's and Turkey's advantage. Europe has set itself up over the last 20 years to be dependent on gas and relied on getting cheap gas through the pipelines. So replacing all of this with LNG is firstly expensive because you need to put all of the facilities in place, and secondly, it takes a long period of time. And then finally and thirdly, for some countries that are landlocked, it's very difficult to actually be able to do it because it's easier if you got a coastline and you can then use a floating regasification facility. So if you're sitting in the middle of Europe and you don't have any coast, then you need to rely upon other countries doing that for you and then transmitting the gas directly to your country. So there are a lot of logistical problems relating to LNG, but more importantly, from an economic point of view, it's very expensive. The cost of LNG is likely to be more than double what it was for the original gas supplies. And this is coming, as we know, at a time when we got high rates of inflation, we got war going on, and a lot of countries are, teetering in or on the brink of recession. So we are seeing interest rates rising all across Europe, the world. So it is really a bad time having to spend a lot of money on a new infrastructure. So, in theory, if Turkey could set itself up as a hub, it could replace the Russian gas supplies with other gas supplies that Europe could potentially be happy to buy. Now, obviously, President Putin's proposal that Russia provides all of the gas to Turkey and then Turkey sells it on is, from the sanctions point of view, unacceptable because that essentially is still providing Russian gas, and they will still earn the revenue which goes against the sanctions. The whole point of the sanctions that Europe had to put in place over the last 7 or 8 months is to deprive Russia of that revenue in order to get them to stop the war in Ukraine. So you could say there's no way on earth that Europe is going to agree to buy large quantities of Russian Turkish gas coming directly from Russia. However, there is an alternative option here because Turkey has supply lines set up with Iran and Azerbaijan, and potentially also could set up an arrangement with Qatar. Now, whilst Iran isn't facing the same level of sanctions that Russia is right now, there are significant sanctions against Iran, and it's unlikely that Europe would be happy to replace Russian gas with Iranian gas because there are similar, let's say, sanctions. But there's still a theoretically possibility that Turkey could team up with Azerbaijan or Qatar in order to take in large quantities of gas and then transmit it on into Europe. Currently, the only problem that Turkey has is that it doesn't have enough spare capacity whatsoever. The existing pipelines are being fully utilized to provide Turkey with the gas it needs. So there's no way it can sell any of that gas on into Europe, because it would leave itself short and they would need to buy more gas directly from somebody else. So they would need to solve this. They will need to build new pipelines. It will take some time and will cost some money. Now, the second problem you could say they're facing, I think the first one is pretty straightforward, but the second one is that of secondary sanctions. And the secondary sanctions are really going to be a key element that's used by the West over the next 6 months in order to try to get Russia to stop the war in Ukraine. So I just want to recap secondary sanctions, or basically sanctions that are applied against any country that continues dealing with Russia in areas that are restricted or off limits. And the purchase of gas currently is not sanctioned, however. But a lot of countries in Europe, they are still buying gas directly from Russia, but over the course of the next 6 months or so, it's likely that Europe will move away from those purchases and those sanctions will be put in place. And once those sanctions are in place, the origin of any gas that's being sold into Europe will be looked into. And if that gas is coming directly from Russia, well then any country who's trying to, let's say, effect those deals would be at risk of facing secondary sanctions. So in this situation, if Turkey was to buy large quantities of gas from Russia and then try to sell the gas onto Europe as Turkish gas, that would very much put them in a position where they could be hit with secondary sanctions. And I guess that's the last thing anyone would want if you have invested into a new infrastructure. So, what is Turkey's plan to circumvent these sanctions? Now, several Turkish officials familiar with the energy ambitions of Turkey told that Turkey envisions a much more sophisticated plan than anyone can believe currently. Now, Turkey would like to emerge as a gas hub where multiple sources of gas are traded and sold by private entities. So Turkey doesn't only want to be a transmitting country. They actually want to blend Russian gas with multiple other sources from Azerbaijan, Iran, and Iraq. Maybe even Israel, and don't forget, Turkey's own Black Sea reserves, and then resell it to Europe and other buyers. And furthermore, Turkey might also have made a further discovery of reserves in the Black Sea. So with an estimated additional 110 billion cubic meters of natural gas, bringing the total to 650 billion cubic meters in that Black Sea area. So the bottom line is, Turkey is aiming to produce an annual 14 to 15 billion cubic meters by the end of 2026. Now, some estimates they say that the production may even go higher with 19 to 20 billion per year by 2029, which, however, is a fraction of the current European Union output today. So I guess that the ultimate aim is to reach a point where gas has a Turkey benchmark, a significant market that sets the price. Now, Turkey or Erdogan, they are aware of this, and that it is an ambitious plan that requires not only the approval of Russia, but certainly that also of the West and European countries. So before we end, I'd like to give my 2 cents on the dollars. I think the proposal that has been put forward by Russia and Turkey, let's say, is a very interesting idea. And if you look at it just from a problem-solving perspective, if you would take the sanctions away and look at after the sabotage of Nord Stream 1 and 2, this would probably be the fastest and best solution in order to get supply back to the demand that is very much needed. However, if Europe or the West are not going to, let's say, agree to buying a blend with Russian gas or would not enter into this agreement, then we have a problem. However, I do believe that Europeans, and when I talk about the Europeans, I'm talking about the people, we need a warm winter and we need a cold summer when we need to turn out our air conditions and whatever we need. So I hope that they will find a solution. I think it's a good one. I think it also really could help Turkey, and they need it. And currently it looks like Turkey is more dependent than the European Union is when it comes to Russia. Now, in case this video gave you any kind of value, do me a favor, hit like, smash, and subscribe. And remember, we also do live streams where we focus on the future of finance, which is being built on the blockchain. I believe the combination of geopolitical events and the future of finance is everything you need in order to understand an investor's reality.